living the proper life. This is not appropriate, what's happening. Our country is so badly run. And by the way, Kenosha, I saved Kenosha. Do you know that? When I was president, right? Right? I saved it. Kenosha was about ready to go down the tubes, and the governor wouldn't move. He just wouldn't move, and I moved. I'm not supposed to. It's supposed to be the governor who's supposed to do it, the mayor and the governor. But we did a great job, and we saved a lot of different places, and some here. We saved a lot of places. Joe Biden's amnesty is also a cold-blooded betrayal of American seniors. By the way, did you see Nancy Pelosi? Her daughter did a documentary, Crazy Nancy. No, this happened just a couple of days. They found the documentary. Her daughter, who's a, quote, documentary maker, has a documentary where Nancy Pelosi is saying it's my fault, meaning her fault, not my fault, her fault, that she takes full responsibility for what's happening. That's as the event is happening. You know why? Because she was being honest for the first couple of hours, and I offered them 10,000 soldiers because I knew the crowd was going to be big. But I offered them 10,000 soldiers, and she turned it down. She said, oh, I don't like the look. She turned it down. And the mayor of Washington, D.C., which we're going to redevelop and make beautiful again, because right now it's a crime-ridden capital. But they turned it down. They turned down the stuff. And now the J6 committee, I call it the unselect committee. They're unselect. They're the most unselect. We should have people like you. We should have put Vivek on the committee, right? And our congressman on the committee, right? But the unselect committee of political thugs, the evidence was so bad and so compelling against the Democrats and against the people that are supposed to be doing that job that they destroyed and deleted all of the, everything is deleted. Remember, they said I attacked Secret Service agents while I was in the back of a car. And I have friends that say, don't change that story. Man, you sound tough as hell. That's good. These guys are like 30 years old. One is a weightlifter. The other one's a karate top guy or something. I went for the one who was rebuffed. But my hands wrapped around the other one's neck. I would have been in trouble if I did that, I think. But what happened is when Secret Service went in, they totally told the proper story, which was nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. Then she supposedly changed her, something went on there. But that's just one of many things. The Pelosi thing is something that is totally on the record. And they've deleted and destroyed all of the records. And they are really disgraceful people. Remember, I said peacefully and patriotically, right? Peacefully. They didn't have that in my speech. They put my speech up, but they took phrases out like peacefully and patriotically. And these are very dishonest people. You know, I say we have problems from the outside and problems from within, and I really believe that you have a smart president. I had no problem with China. I had no problem with Russia. I stopped Russia. Russia would have never gone into Ukraine. I stopped their pipeline going into Germany, which Biden immediately approved. The first week that he was there, he approved it. And Putin actually said, you know, they say that you and I are friends. I'd hate to see you as an enemy. You stopped my pipeline. It was stopped. Going to Germany, going all over Europe, and Biden immediately approved it. But he killed our pipeline, the Keystone. He stopped our pipeline, the Keystone XL, 48,000 jobs. He stopped our pipeline. Biden and his party are hell-bent on leaving a single Biden migrant who has violated our borders, dumping millions of people onto Medicare and Social Security and even Obamacare. By the way, all of these people going onto Social Security, Medicare, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to be able, it's not sustainable. They're going to ruin your Social Security. This guy's killing your Social Security. Biden and the Democrats are wheeling Granny off the cliff to give benefits to illegal aliens. They're giving the benefits to the illegals. And you know, a stat that came out the other day is that almost all of the new jobs in this country are going to illegals. They're not going to our people. They're going to illegals. And that's why the black population, Hispanic population, is voting for me at levels that nobody's ever seen before in this country. Because they're not getting the jobs. In fact, they're losing their jobs. As president, I will fight for American seniors like nobody has ever fought before, and we will not be fighting for the Biden illegals, as I call them. I will fight for American workers, not for human traffickers. I will fight for the American dreamers, not the child smugglers and woman smugglers. And I will restore the sovereign borders of the United States of America. So help me God. Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, they actually have the best location. People think it's them, but it's not, because nobody sees you on camera. They're on camera for an hour and a half, depending on. And in numerous cases, perhaps they become Hollywood stars. You know, they'll say, who's that person with great star appeal behind Trump? Say, let's see. Got a few of them. You never know. Hey, you never know. What is a star, after all? What is a star? I will also take immediate action to save our economy. Our economy is doing terribly. Inflation has killed our economy. It's a nation buster. On the last day in office, inflation was at less than 1.4%, and as you know, it's now 10. Look, if you take a look at our inflation, our real inflation, they said it was 10 for the last couple of years cumulatively. You take a look at inflation, and if you add different categories, which they don't, I think our inflation is between 40 and 50%. They say it's at 22%. 22% is a lot. That's record-setting. But I think you could double it. Let them add the cost of interest. Let them add the cost of trying to buy a house. Nobody can buy a house anymore. The American dream is dead. The money they can't get, the interest rates through the roof. During my term, we had gasoline down to $1.87 a gallon. And by the end, the 30-year mortgage rate was 2.7%. Think of that. And now it's 10%, 11%, 12%, and you can't get the money, so it doesn't make any difference. They can tell you what the rate is, but you can't get the money. Joe Biden inherited the fastest and strongest economic recovery in history. I gave him the greatest economic recovery in history. It's called bounce back. We were all set. We were set. I hated. We had the greatest economy ever in the history of the world. COVID came in, and we did an unbelievable job. And by the time we ended, we gave him the greatest bounce back that anybody's ever had. And guess what? He blew it to shreds. And that's where we are right now. Biden's inflation, price hikes, and energy destruction have cost the average American family an astonishing $28,000. Think of that, $28,000. And on day one of my new administration, we will throw out Bidenomics and replace it with Maganomics. Maganomics. And it was just announced, you probably heard it, just came as I'm walking up, I say, let me say that. I'm walking up here. It was just announced that the budget deficit is now expected to be almost $2 trillion in 2024. Think of it, $2 trillion. Let's see, 2024, that might not be so good because I take over. They're going to say I have a $2 trillion deficit. I say I didn't do anything. But we'll get it down. $400 billion more than estimated just a few months ago because he's throwing money out the window on the Green New scam and other things because this student loan program, which is not even legal. I mean, it's not even legal. And the students aren't buying it, by the way. His polls are down. I'm leading in young people by numbers that nobody's ever seen before. And remember, with Trump, no tax on tips. So for all of you people, a couple of people that get tips, right? Tips. No tax on tips. That's right. No, I think it's good. You know, you work, and they come out and they harass you. They really harass you. A lot of people have told me that. He's just passed new regulations that make it very, very hard on people that earn tips really for a living. For the most part, they live on tips. I will stop Biden's wasteful spending and rapidly terminate the Green New Scam, which is a total scam. We're spending money like drunken sailors. You know the expression, drunken sailors? They love that expression. I will end the Biden inflation nightmare, and we will end it quickly. And I will repeal crooked Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate, and we will drill, baby, drill. We will drill, baby, drill. Right? Thank you. Thank you. Energy costs will come down very quickly. In many cases, we'll be cutting your energy costs in half, and we're going to be doing it very fast. I will also stop inflation by stopping the invasion, rapidly reducing housing costs. You know, they're taking over our hotels. Think of it. You have people that come in illegally that don't speak the language. We don't even know the country. These are countries where we have nobody in our country that even understands the language. And they're living in luxury hotels in many cases. And as I said, as our wonderful warriors they're wounded, and literally wounded from play, but they're wounded. Of San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York and Chicago and Oakland and all over the place. And you have other people living in luxury hotels. You tell me, is this country screwed up or what? Is this country... We will cut every unnecessary Biden regulation. You know, I cut regulations more than any president in history. That's how we got all the jobs. And I cut your taxes, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And we will make the Trump tax cuts permanent and reduce taxes even more for working families and small businesses. They want to let the Trump tax cuts expire. If you do that, you will pay 4 times the amount of tax that you're paying right now. Somehow, you know, all my life I've watched politicians, and they've always said, I'm going to reduce your taxes. This is the only group I've ever seen. We're going to raise your taxes by 4 times. Oh, let's vote for them. There's something crazy going on. There's something crazy in the water. But, you know, I produce the cleanest water and the cleanest air. That's what I want. I want clean water, clean, crystal clean air. Unlike me, Joe Biden isn't fighting for the working people. He's fighting for all of the corrupt interests that get rich off the suffering of the middle class. And he's fighting for China. And he's fighting for lots of other countries. He puts America last. Crooked Joe backed NAFTA, China's entry into the World Trade Organization, and the horrible Trans-Pacific Partnership, and also the ripoff called the Paris Climate Accord. It sounds so nice. Except we were paying the whole, wasn't paying, Russia wasn't paying, India wasn't paying $1 trillion for the Paris Climate Accord. Sounds so nice. I said, you know, when I terminate this deal, I'm going to get killed on this one. I terminated it. Everybody thanked me. It was like, because they all know the people are really smart. They get it. They get it. What we are doing for other countries, and we're destroying ourselves, and we owe $35 trillion. You know, it's not like, gee, we have nothing but cash. He sent our blood and treasure to back regime change in Iraq, regime change in Libya, regime change in Syria, and every other globalist disaster for half a century. It's been going on the same. I took our soldiers out. You know, I'm the only president that didn't start a war. I'm the only president. I finished the war. I finished it. I finished the war with ISIS, the ISIS Caliphate. I finished it. But I didn't start a war. I got our soldiers out of Syria. I read this morning that, oh, gee, it was a shame. We had 5,000 soldiers on the border, Syria and Turkey, right on the border. So you have Syria, Turkey, and in the middle we have 5,000. In between, a 250,000 person army and 150,000. I went to a general. I say, How do our 5,000 soldiers do in that case? You got two warring nations, and they say, not good, sir. I say, I think it's time to get him out, right? I got him out. Then we had 54 soldiers, and I said, this one I don't have to ask a general. Get him the hell out of there. You know what? Essentially, nothing happened. They've had that border for 2,000 years, different names, but they've had that border for 2,000 years. They've been fighting for 2,000 years. Why do we have soldiers here? I took them out. And we didn't have people killed. We had nobody killed. And they still fight over the border a little bit, but not much. It's, you know, they fight for a little while, then they stop. This goes on for thousands of years. No, you know, we are now, we call ourselves, because, you know, I'm conservative. What difference? I'm the party of common sense. We're the party of common sense. It's not a conservative thing. It's not a liberal thing or a Democrat or Republican thing. After years of Crooked Joe building up foreign nations under my leadership, we will once again build up our nation, if that's okay. Let's build up our nation. I think it's time, right? It looks like a good soldier there. I will revoke China's most favored nation's trade status. They have a most favored nation. They're favored. I said, why do you have that presidency? Well, we are a developing nation. You got nothing but cash. You're killing us. We paid them $500 billion a year. They built their military because of stupid people. And one thing, you know, somebody said it, you don't even think about it. I read it 2 nights ago. Donald Trump was the one that brought up China and the tremendous threat that China is and the amount of money that China takes out of our country every year. You never heard that until I came along. And, you know, it's one thing to talk about it, but I did talk about it. But I was doing something. We took out hundreds of billions of dollars out of China. Not one president took out 10 cents. In fact, Biden wants to revoke the tariffs, but he can't because it's so much money. He can't do it. He just can't do it. I also will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That's if China or any other country makes us pay 100 or 200% tariff or tax, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff or tax of 100 or 200% right back. We don't do that. We have countries, and it's not only China, it's many countries. We have countries that charge us tremendous taxes and tariffs, and we don't charge them anything. And I was changing that and got a lot of it changed with South Korea, with Japan, made a new deal with Japan. Oh, Japan was really, you know, Prime Minister Abe, he was great, of Japan. He was assassinated. He was a great friend of mine. He was a great gentleman. He loved his people. He loved his country. I went to him. I said, you know, the trade deal between Japan and the United States is the most unfair thing I think I've ever seen. They sell cars to us. We can't sell cars to them. They sell food to us. We can't sell food to them. And it's that way with the European Union, too. And I said to Abe, I love that guy. He was great. He was going to run again. He was getting